When I was 15, my friend Terry, who was a couple years older than me, spent the night. There's no way either of our parents would allow us to have or own a Ouija board in our possession, so we decided to make our own with poster boards and scissors. I myself really didn't believe in the Ouija and what many claimed it could do. I just always assumed that someone was always pushing it to say whatever they wanted it to say. Terry really wanted to do this, so I decided to go along with it, figuring she was just going to try and scare me or something. We talked with the spirit that just so happened to call herself Terry also. You can guess, I didn't believe this thing was really moving on its own. I had my mind set that she was moving it the whole time. Well, we started to argue over it, when all of a sudden, the planchette started to spin around really fast. Still assuming it was Terry, I got mad. Then it just suddenly stopped. That was it. Terry started telling me that you were supposed to make it say goodbye or it stays here. Still mad. I said yeah, right, whatever. We started talking about other stuff, and in the washroom, which is on the other side of the kitchen, we started hearing a lot of noise. Now there were 3 doors to that room. One went outside, one connected to the kitchen, and other connected to my sister's room. My sister was an RN and was working the night shift, so no one was in her room. We knew that no one could have gone through the kitchen, because they would have gone right past us and we would have seen them. The outside door was locked and bolted from the inside, so that excluded anyone coming in from outside. Both of us just stood there as the sound got louder and louder. My dad had a bunch of empty boxes stacked up in the front of the outside door. To me, it sounded like 2 people were throwing these boxes back and forth all over the room. Of course, we were scared, but I didn't associate it with anything having to do with a ghost, etc. I was thinking that someone had gotten in from the outside, somehow. I don't know why, but I grabbed up a butcher knife and told Terry to go and get Brian, my brother. He and my parents were asleep. All this time, you could still hear these boxes being tossed around everywhere. Terry and Brian came up to me at the door, and you could tell by the look on Brian's face, he was hearing the commotion too. He took the knife from me and jerked the door open. Everything at that moment went dead silent. The boxes had been moved because they were laying everywhere, but no signs of anyone in the room. Needless to say, we were all pretty freaked out. I didn't dare tell him what we'd been up to earlier playing with the Ouija board. To this day, I can find any explanation as to why we heard what we did or how the boxes got moved. Thanks for reading. When I was a teenager, around the age of 16, I found a Ouija board at a yard sale and bought it for 25 cents. Skeptical of the Ouija, I devised the experiment deemed to test if it was simply a matter of self-suggestion. I was going to ask what pet would die next and think to myself fish. We had several adult cats, dogs, and guinea pigs who were not elderly and very good health, but I had a tank of tropical fish, several of which were getting on in fish years. I was trying to trick the board by seeing if it would give me the answer I was thinking, which would be a logical conclusion. I tried the Ouija board with my mother, a skeptic of all things supernatural. After setting it up, I asked my question. We put our fingertips on the planchette and waited. After 5 seconds of no response, Mom tired of wasting her time and decided that she was going to bed and left the room. I put the board away and didn't think about it for a few days. Later that same week, I was talking to a male friend of mine on the phone. I was telling him of my disbelief in attempted experimentation with the board. I just told him the question I was going to ask it. What pet would be the next to die? I took a breath and told him, and the answer I was looking for was, when all of a sudden, the books on the shelf behind me tipped over. They knocked into a figurine and sent it to the floor, where it shattered. The figurine was of a ceramic fish. These books had never tipped over before and were securely in place. I've not seen them fall in such manner since this time period, almost 13 years later. The timing of the fall was too eerie. It was exactly at the point where I would have said fish. My friend said that he heard the noise and that I sounded stunned. Though it was a long distance call, I ended it hastily, went and got the Ouija board out of my closet and put it in the garage. I would not touch it again. My mother had to get rid of it without my knowledge, as I so feared it. I think that was a warning sign for me. I've taken Ouija boards seriously since then. If they do not channel the dead, then they certainly set up a psychological premise which I don't think should be tampered with. I feel like it is opening up the door to a stranger, either an earthbound or entity, I don't know, but thanks for reading. When I was about 8 or 9 years old, we moved into a house which had a scary history as it turns out. My mom and dad took my youngest brother to dinner. Linda, my sister, and I didn't want to go. We were instructed to bring the boxes of books in the garage upstairs to the library. While we were doing this, we found an old Ouija board and started playing with it. I thought for sure it was my sister pushing it, as it told me I was going to be hit by a car and die by the time I was 10, which obviously 25 years later, I'm still here. It also said that there were 5 spirits in the house, and its name was Jax, boring, and we put it away. That was when we started hearing footsteps in other parts of the house running, lights going on and off, radios blaring that we knew we had turned off, doors slamming, knocking, and rapping in the wood, boxes being moved about in the attic, etc. We lived there for 5 years, and I can tell you that I have nightmares to this day. Now this house was on a road which was formerly known as the Santa Fe Trail. A couple of miles up the road was where the Santa Fe Trail and the Pikes Peak Trail met. There were Indian encampments, settlements, and a bad stagecoach accident and fire all in the general vicinity. I don't know if Linda and I had visited into the house, or it was there to begin with. My family are seers, so I suppose I should get used to it, but I've never been free of hauntings since then. Thanks for reading. I went to a friend's house to stay for the weekend. My friend and I always loved ghost stories, magic, psychics, and anything else mysterious. Those things would just get us going when we were bored. Well, I decided to bring my Ouija board, which we used many times and usually wait until midnight to use it. This particular night, it was midnight and we were playing with it, just regular, everyday things, when all of a sudden it said, "Don't be alarmed, in the next few hours you're going to get a cold chill running through your bodies." We asked it, "What do you mean don't be alarmed?" Well, the board replied that I and all the people around me will notice something in the next hour. Well, right after I said that, my friend's little brother came into the room with us, and it just started to hit us. This is what it were telling us were going to happen. My friend's brother is terrified of ghosts, so we all decided to just put the board up and wait to see what, if anything, happened. My friend said he had an idea. I got a string out that attaches to a crystal. He said it's kind of like a mini Ouija board, and you can ask it yes and no questions. Well, we said for yes, move it vertically, and for no, move it horizontally. We also requested that the responses cause the crystal to move fast and big, so we can detect when a spirit is present. We hung this crystal on a string from a lamp and waited. It was about a half an hour to an hour later, when all of a sudden, we heard a big ting-ting sound coming from the lamp. We flipped on the light, and the crystal was swinging violently. I mean, it was starting to really scare me and my friend. I can only imagine how my friend's little brother would have reacted if he witnessed this. We turned the lights off and got real calm and quiet. The atmosphere in the room seemed to change. It got eerily quiet, and it felt as if something were about to jump out at us at any minute. It also got really hot, really fast. My friend remarked that he thought something big was about to happen. Right when he said that, we heard the door creak open. It wasn't much, but it was like someone was trying to sneak by us. Then suddenly, it got real cold, and I mean so cold that we were shivering and covering up. All of a sudden, you could see a light blue or white colored light getting brighter as it got closer. Then just as quickly as it appeared, it was gone. Then it appeared again, only this time, it got real bright and was coming from the middle of the closet. While we were focusing on that, my friend's little brother said, "Look over there," and when we turned to look in that direction, you could see a shadow like someone were walking by. Next thing we knew, the crystal was reacting to it, and it just fell off the lamp. This shadow appeared to wave, as if to tell us, "Yeah, I'm here, but I won't hurt you." The wind blew outside, and right when the wind blew, the shadow was vanished. Thanks for reading. One boring summer night, my neighbor suggested we give the Ouija board a try. Everyone in our apartment complex were fully aware we're haunted, so I agreed. I wanted to get my baby to sleep first. As I rocked my baby to sleep, I asked my neighbor how she came to have this Ouija board, because she had never mentioned it before. She said that the lady on the other side of her was carrying it out to the dump the day before, so she asked her why she was throwing it away, because it seemed to be in good condition. The other neighbor said that she was throwing it away because ever since she had it in her apartment, things were falling off the walls and breaking. My neighbor said, well, if you don't mind, I would like to have it. That's how she got it. Now that my daughter was in good deep sleep, I made a pallet for her upstairs in my neighbor's bedroom. I put her on the floor because I didn't want her falling off the bed and getting hurt. I also didn't want her in the same room as we toyed around with the Ouija board. Some more friends came over, so altogether, there were the 4 of us. The spirit contact said no when we asked him if it were a man. It also said no when we were asked if it were a woman. At this point, I took my hands off the board. One of the other people there told me that that was a bad idea because that was the opening of circle we had formed. I immediately put my hands back on the board, but my friend said it was too late, that it was already let out. Right after he said this, we heard a big bang in the room upstairs where my baby was. My baby started to cry. When we went to check, nothing was moved, and my baby seemed to be only startled by the noise. After that, I decided I wanted nothing more to do with the Ouija board. Thanks for reading. Recently, my friend Aaron lost control of his motorcycle and died. Prior to the accident, Aaron, myself, and a few friends, Brutus, Megan, and Alex, decided to play with the Ouija board. We played for a while, when all of a sudden the planchette just froze. We couldn't move it for anything. Next thing we knew, the planchette just started moving on its own. We sat on the floor in amazement, watching this board acting on its own free will. All of a sudden, the planchette turned in Aaron's direction and scooted forward about an inch or so. Right about that moment, Aaron's cell phone rang. He picked up his phone, expecting it would be someone he knew calling him. Only whoever it was, or whatever it were on the other line, hung up. That's when we decided we'd pick up the board. Not long following this incident is when Aaron had his accident. After Aaron's accident, my friend Megan and I decided we'd try and contact him using the Ouija board. We were in the living room with only candles for lighting. We had a picture of Aaron sitting across from us. We asked, "Is Aaron there?" The board replied yes. I then asked, "How are you doing?" The board responded, "Great." Then before we could ask any further questions, the planchette said stop. We asked stopped what? The board said all. We then asked all of what? Then Megan asked, "Do you want us to leave you alone?" The board replied yes. We both looked at each other and Megan said, "He wants to rest in peace." I agreed, and then we said bye. It then said bye, Brett. Megan said, "I love you, Aaron," and the planchette spelled out, "I love you too, Megan." We took our hands off the planchette and it moved on to its own by saying goodbye. Needless to say, we both were pretty teary-eyed after that. Thanks for reading. When I was about 17 or 18, I was at a friend's house. A friend who swears to this day her house is haunted. She claims that her and other family members would hear all kinds of sounds, especially when they were alone or if it were an exceptionally quiet night. Something even tried to get in one of the doors once, but when they looked out the window to see who was there, they found nothing. No one. Anyway, this particular night, my friends and I decided to play with a Ouija board. I've never personally ever used one before, and after this incident, will never participate in using one again. The planchette began moving on its own free will. As if that weren't bad enough, we didn't properly close the session, and I swear something evil followed me home that night. I tried to tell my parents about it, but I don't think they believed me. There were nights when I would hear what sounded like a stick being tapped on the walls, circling the whole perimeter of my bedroom. I feel that's where this evil entity dwelt, because the rest of the house was uneventful. I began having terrible dreams. I would wake up and try to get out of my room as fast as I could, always with some sort of interference preventing me. I woke up once and felt as if I couldn't get out of bed. It was pitch dark, blacker than black that night. I threw my blanket off and tried to find my way to the door. It took me about 10 minutes before I finally found the door handle and light switch. It was as if they had just vanished from my room for that period of time. When I finally got a hold of the handle to the door, for some reason, I couldn't get that door to open for anything. I had to pop my window out and crawl out of the room that way. I had left home for a while. I returned to find my bedroom door wide open and just fine. One night, I also heard something fall in the bathroom, next to where I was at. It was very loud. After I finally moved out and in with my boyfriend, who is now my husband, it didn't seem to follow me. It continued to stick to only that room of my parents' home. My brother moved into my bedroom after I left, and he too reported unusual occurrences in that room as well, but he seemed to experience more than I did. He was so disturbed by the things happening in his room that he ended up putting all sorts of crosses, religious practices, and even a wooden statue of Christ he got from our pastor, all over his room for protection. One day, I went into his room and discovered the top of a statue appeared to be burned. That's when he told me about the weird occurrences happening in his room, including the statue appeared to have smoke coming out of it. Another disturbing thing that happened was that the cross had flipped in an upside down position in the middle of the night. He also claimed he felt as if he were being choked at different times. The same sounds I heard when I stayed in this room, he heard as well. Eventually, a family bought the place for my parents. They had 2 young girls, ages 11 and 12. I was talking with a friend of mine, and they told me that the new owners swear one of the rooms is haunted. I can only guess what room they were referring to. I have no doubt that whatever we did that night with the Ouija board, whatever was moving that planchette came home with me, and to this day, still dwells in that one room of our old home. 2 summers ago, I started working at a camp, a haunted camp. No one has ever shared these stories outside of the camp, and fear might scare campers away. During staff week, I heard talk of ghosts and spirits at the camp, but being a skeptic, I just blew them off. The more I listened, the more real it became. Senior staff members, even the camp director, told stories that chilled me to the bone. On the 4th night of staff week, I was invited to use the Ouija board in the chapel. I'd used one as a child, but assumed it was always just people moving it around. This time was different. You can tell if the Ouija pointer planchette is working, because it floats. If someone is moving it, the pointer will scrape, but it was floating and making no noise. When we asked who it was, it gave 3 initials. We asked what it did before it died, and it said logging. We took this as logging. The camp used to be used for logging, and a lumberjack was not likely to know how to spell correctly. We asked a few more uninteresting questions that I cannot recall, because I was preoccupied with the rustling I heard nearby. It was the unmistakable sound of footsteps. After about 3 minutes of hearing footsteps that sounded like they were walking around the chapel and gradually getting louder. Oh yeah, the chapel is outside, and it just has a roof and foundation. It is not an enclosed building. We took the message to heed and beat foot out of there. This is my own personal account of a Ouija board experience, but according to another staff member's mother who decided to join me one night, she was shaken back and forth by a spirit and the Ouija board flipped itself over. The last incident of my 2nd summer was in the chapel again. We were playing with the Ouija board again, but this time, we didn't get such a nice spirit. It said nasty things to us, like kill you and die. It said go or die, so we decided to take the first option and we left. As we were walking away, I looked back and saw a face in the window of the small room connected to the chapel. It was glowing silver. I was about 50 yards away, and I could not make out much except an outline, but my friend saw it too, and it was enough to make us run. Thanks for reading. When I was about 12 years old, I went to my friend's family Halloween party. We were bored, so we went to the garage to see what we could find to do. We found an old Ouija board sitting on the game rack and asked her aunt if we could take it back to my friend's house. She said we could, so we did. When we got there, we went to her room and shut all the lights off, except a little lamp. We were talking to someone, and I didn't believe that it was moving on its own and blamed it on my friend. She asked the board to give us a sign that something was there. About 2 minutes later, her dresser and bed started shaking really hard. It scared us so bad, we put it away. We went to bed an hour later and put the board under her bed neatly. When we woke up, it wasn't there any longer. We haven't seen the board since. When I was 17, I moved into a 2-bedroom unit. Me and my mates made a Ouija board and used it. I feel like it must have opened a gateway for a bad entity. When I moved in the house, and made no noises, but after that, you could feel a bad presence. Wherever this entity would go, the walls and ceiling around it would creak. At night, I would be lying in bed, and I could hear it creaking in the lounge room, and then start to move into my bedroom. I would then feel pressure in my bed, and a feeling as though something was pushing me down on the bed. It would also turn on things like the fan over the stove and the heater, which was gas. You could physically see the dial move. Also, my mood started to change while I was there. It got to the point where I was too scared to sleep there, so I stayed up at my mom's a lot. She got sick of it, so she took her psychic circle there. My mom has been talking to a spirit called Wayne for years. She talked to the spirit, and it said it didn't want to leave, but with the assistance of the spirit named Wayne, he made it leave. When I returned home, I could feel the entity had gone. Thank you for reading the story. I know it's short, but I hope you appreciate it. Hey, it's PhantomOfDarkness here, and rumor on the street has it that I read like an inconsistent motherfucker. Anyway, guys, I don't know why you had to hear the motherfucker part, but I figured, it's gonna get demonetized anyway. Might as well just say motherfucker, because, I can't even say it right. Anyway, guys, so this rumor supposedly is going on that I can't even read to save my life. And you know what I say to that? I say that's right, because look at this outro. See, I can't even say anything right. So, I mean, guys, you guys can make fun of me all you want, but you know what? In the end, I still can't read, and I'm still getting subscribers. So I guess that's something maybe cool? I don't know. So yeah, you really hurt me by saying my inflection is awful. But you know what? I'll demonstrate it to you one more time about how I read. So here's my inflection. This is how it goes. There was a ghost that said, "Step up and face me." There you go. Oh my gosh. No, seriously, guys, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm fine. I mean, I'm sober, I think. I want to say I'm fine. But please, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, and share this video, because apparently you guys got back-to-back videos, and there's something special about that. Not gonna edit that mess up out. See, the thing is, people think I'm not human, but, I am human. But the thing is, I don't care about what people say about me, because I uploaded another video for you guys, because I love you, because it's really about you guys. So good night, good morning, share this video, and I'm outie, just like an outie belly button. See you later, and I'll talk to you guys very soon, hopefully tomorrow. Well, I don't know when, but hopefully soon, because I love you guys. Good night, bye.